Again, signals remain bearish on Bitcoin. Having a bullish divergence on the 4-hour chart, but again, still risk of a bigger drop. Eventually, we're going to get some kind of bounce, and then we'll be watching. But right now, no bottoming signal here at the moment. I posted this chart on X on Sunday. We had tried to get a signal. Again, it won't be, the final print won't be until the close. But right now, it went away. Watching, do we get some kind of reversal bar that eventually sets up here today or in the coming days ahead? You got a 9 count, I think, coming Tuesday or Wednesday in the daily time frame. I'll cover that tomorrow, I remember. But we had a bullish signal here. It's going away again. Rally back up is going to be a counter trend. Whether we get a bigger one or not, we'll see. I do believe Bitcoin topped back over here when I had all my topping signals back at the top at major resistance. Cover more of these charts on Tuesday, and the risk is that we continue to follow the Wyckoff distribution model and continue to drop down towards the April low and crash wave 3. That's the risk right now with our death cross. They play out that way. My signals, which are correct, remain bearish. Bitcoin's down more than 26%, continues to sell off. I'll be talking about some of these other signals. Right here, there is no signal yet. If the divergence plays out in the 4-hour time frame, we could see some kind of rebound, either for a subwave for crash wave 3 or a primary wave 2, a larger rebound. Please support the channel with the link directly below. That allows me to be able to provide you this information. If you like the charts, you like the indicators, please let me know that by supporting the channel today. I don't have any sponsors, just a direct relationship with you. So if you could take a moment to support the channel, I would really, really appreciate that. If you could step up to the plate and help out, anything helps. Just put it all out there and ask that you just partner with me. So if you could take a moment to do that, I'd really appreciate it. The link will take you to a secured site. Thank you. If you watch the video all the way through, I'll be talking about altcoins and Ethereum at the end of the video in great length and detail. Okay, it is the Monday session for Bitcoin. Bitcoin's down about 1%. It's making new lows. It's around 93,000. We got the death cross. The risk is with the death cross that you keep dropping like we did when we got it back in early 2022, in January of 2022. We had this significant drop leading into the death cross. So again, possible we bounce towards the 50, the 200. Again, my signals, which are correct, remain bearish. My weekly charts remain bearish. Everything that I've told you that was going to happen at the top has happened. I told you I called a top on October 6th as we slammed into resistance. I got topping signals. I saw evidence of a top. I told you it's 1, 2, and 3 strikes, you're out. You tried to clear resistance. You couldn't do it. If we could clear resistance, you still had a shot at going to the Fibonacci extension levels from the previous advance towards 150 to 175,000. Rejection off that level then puts Bitcoin at risk of completing the 4-year cycle. You know, it cracks me up. The Moon Boys told us we had a breakout here. I told you we had a top. Moon Boys told us we had a bottom here. They told us we weren't going down. And then when we saw the largest liquidation in crypto history, they said it's a bottom. I told you it's not a bottom. That we're going down towards the 100,000. We're going down to the 50 period. We're going down to test 98,000 down here. Maybe we bounce. Maybe we break it. The rising trend line in the weekly time frame. Think about all of this. Back at the top and all the way down the last 6+ weeks now. Boys told us it's a bottom. Rallied up, went to new lows. It's a bottom. Rallied up, went to new lows. It's a bottom. Rallied up, went to new lows. These are the same people that are telling us that we have a bottom right here, right now. And again, it could be we try to get a bigger rally. Talked about that possibility, but I believe Bitcoin has topped, and any rally back up is a gift to the bears, another shorting opportunity, and an opportunity to the longs to close their long positions. I do not believe the herd will do it. They'll do what they did the last bear market. They'll ride it all the way down. 80 or 90%. That's what the Bitcoin bear markets are. It's going to be the institutions, if we do get a bigger rally back up, that will sell into the rally. Head and shoulders pattern. We had the triple top also play out here. The triple top. I talked about the triple top over here from the July peak, the August peak, the October peak, and then when you had the head and shoulders from that October peak. But the confirmation line for the triple top, well, that played out. We broke down. We got back up in the trading range, and then we broke down again, back tested that level, and then also the head and shoulders neckline here also broke down, back tested. The RSI is in the negative region. The MACD is in the negative region. There's no bullish divergence on it. The stochastic, though, has become very oversold. So again, you're likely going to see some type of bounce here, whether that is a subwave for crash wave 3, if we're in crash wave 3, or if this whole thing is a primary wave 1, and you get a larger counter trend for primary wave 1, and then we get a larger counter trend for primary wave 2, and then you see the bottom fall out of Bitcoin. It can play out either way. Those are the two counts that I think are most likely in play. I leave this chart, Bitcoin trying to bounce a little bit off the lows there, down 0.77% here on the Monday session. Now we got the Bitcoin death cross, and again, we've had a sell-off ahead of that death cross. Now over here you had the death cross, you had a rebound going into the death cross, and then you had another drop. So there's still risk of that happening. Again, let me repeat, my signals, which are correct, remain bearish in the weekly time frame, remain bearish in the daily time frame. We can get a bottom, a short-term bottom, and bounce, even get a bigger rally if we have a wave 2, a primary wave 2 setting up, as I've talked about, any rally back up. And there are going to be bounces along the way, all the way down in the bear market. Any rally back up is going to be a counter trend. Unless my signals all begin to turn back to bullish in the weekly time frame for Bitcoin. Right now we're at risk of confirming a bear market with our close below the 50-week moving average. So again, the risk is that we get a bigger drop like we did over here with the death cross, and then you get the bigger rally. So that's still at risk, and you rallied up to that 200 period moving average. The 50 cross below the 200, remain below the 200 until the bottom. The bullish divergence is formed. You got back above the 50, you got back above the 200, and the 200 period pulled back to it, or really Bitcoin's average price. Again, listen carefully. My signals remain bullish. At some point, we're going to get a bounce. We're very oversold. That doesn't mean we're going to go make new highs. That doesn't mean that we're now in a new bull market and the sell-off is over. Remember, the people telling us the bottom's in are the people that have been saying the bottom is in all the way down, 26+% now, and told us we had a breakout at the top. The moon boys are oblivious to what's going on. Bunch of perma bulls that never see any kind of tops or any kind of pullbacks because they're a bunch of perma bulls that only see bottoms. Got to be objective. You got to look at both bottoms and tops. Again, I don't really care which way Bitcoin goes. I'm a trader. I got very bullish at the April bottom when I called the bottom for Bitcoin. Now I see evidence of a top, and so I turned bearish. See, here is Bitcoin's average price, and that's where it's very, very close to the 50-week moving average. Found when we got back above it here, the orange line, that's Bitcoin's average price. This is a 100 period moving average. When we got back above it, you came to it and you found support. Here you just breached it ever so slightly, found a bottom. Here, again, breached it ever so slightly, found a bottom. Now we're taking it out. The risk is if we take it out, stay below it, or bounce, and then drop back below it and stay below it, that you have confirmation of a bear market. Pring parameter on the pullback to Bitcoin's average price turn negative, but then recycle back up. Right now, Pring parameter has turned negative here in the daily time frame. When it turned negative over here and you stay below Bitcoin's average price except for rebounding back up to it, you were in the negative region the entire time, and it marked the bear market. Over here, again, you firmed up after going negative, and that marked these bottoms in the bullish trend. So which is this? And again, I think the odds favor that you've entered a bear market in all likelihood. Now, if we get the 100 period dropping below Bitcoin's average price like we did over here, that was when, as it started to move to cross, that's when you had a counter trend rally. Whether we drop lower and get a counter trend rally back to Bitcoin's average price, or if we try to recover, get a larger primary wave 2 right now, you may try to rally towards the 100 period moving average and get above Bitcoin's average price. Towards the 100 period, getting another lower high below 116,000 here. So again, I'll be watching to see how this unfolds. Again, I don't know the future. I'm a trader. I look at support and resistance. I look at mathematically based indicators. I did a really good job in calling the top, predicting this crash. We were going down to 100,000 for a test to test the 98,000 area. Told you if we break it, you have the rising trend line in the weekly time frame that we might go down to in the 90s, the low 90,000 range, to bounce off of that trend line. Talked about this over the last several weeks since the top for scenarios. Now that I've been proven correct on the top, now that I've been proven correct with the sell-off, I heard the movers are just getting angrier and angrier as Bitcoin drops. And when we begin to bounce, they're going to go, see. People that told us the sell-off was never going to happen. The people that told us we had a breakout back at the top, thinking with their emotions. I'm telling you, we're going to get a rebound back up. Likely, at some point, you'll get a bigger rebound back up. If we're in crash wave 3 right now, the bigger move may not happen until we get down to 74,000 or drop 50% like we did over here. We dropped 52% before we got that bigger rebound back up. But they're thinking with their emotions and getting angrier and angrier. And the attacks on me were horrible at the top when I called the top and flipped from bullish to bearish. But the attacks, now that I've been proven correct, they have tripled down on the attacks on me. Post anything and they just mock and laugh at it. Call me every filthy name in the book. That my indicators have been right. Again, if my signals were to all turn back to bullish, I would turn back to bullish. My signals, I'm following my mathematically based indicators, keeping my emotions in check. As I told you at the bottom, when I turned bullish in April, calling the day of the bottom at horizontal support and Bitcoin's average price, saw evidence of a bottom when everybody had thrown in the towel and was very, very negative. The herd, they get super bearish at bottoms and super bullish at tops. Right now, they are angry. You have people, the experts telling them, oh no, Bitcoin's going to 200 and 250,000 by the end of the year. You get this guy that has the highest IQ in the world. He's saying, oh, in the next 45 days, we're going to 220,000. Well, that means Bitcoin in 45 days has to increased by over 2 trillion in market cap in 45 days. That's never happened. You would have to negate all the bearish signals in the monthly and the weekly time frame. I think it's more of an ego thing, or maybe, he's reading Tom Lee fairy tale stories there at bedtime. Some perma bull got a hold of this guy, but I'm telling you, Bitcoin's not going to 220,000 in 45 days. It's not going to 200,000 as Tom Lee is telling us in 45 days or so, the end of the year. This is just Kool-Aid for the Moon Boys and the herd. Charts say otherwise. The charts do not lie. The charts turn back to bullish. Got a chance at the advanced resuming if we don't confirm a bear market with the 50-week moving average. I think you will. Bitcoin's average price, we've taken it out. We'll see if we get back above it. If you do, I'm watching the 100 period moving average, and that's coming in below that 116,000 area. So we'll be watching that. The 100 period coming in around the 112,000 area or so. So we'll be watching that. If you look up here, you can see we've gone negative into the negative region here. This is what we've done in the past for bear markets. This is what we've done at the bottoms for the bullish phase to resume the advance. So again, which is this? My guess is you've now started a bear market, and while we may get bounces along the way, eventually you're headed down to 74,000 or a 50% sell-off like what we had over here, 52% sell-off. And I talked about in my video from 2 videos ago, again, the bear markets for Bitcoin usually kick off with about a 40 to 50% drop. I showed you all the past bear markets. The first bear market where we ended up dropping 93%, it was more than 50%. It was 60-something percent. I think Bitcoin will drop at least 40 or 50%, and then we'll get a massive rally. And I think that will be by January. If I'm wrong about January, it'll be sometime in the first quarter. I have the guts to tell you what I think. Now, if we look at the weekly chart, I told you previously that we were going to bounce off the 50-week. We did. And I warned you that we were going to go to new lows based on what I was seeing on the 4-hour chart. And the risk is, again, that you go down to the trend line here, going all the way back to the 2022 low. Remember I talked about bouncing off the 50-week, but then dancing around it. Remember we talked about this over and over again. Here you drop below it, got back above it, dropped below it, closed below it like we just did this past week, got back above it, and then you close below it. And finally, 6 weeks later, you closed below it and got second close below the 50-week, and then you confirm the bear market by getting an open and a close below it, confirming that candlestick. Do we do that this week and break the trend line, or do we bounce here and try to go back up and maybe test get back above the 50-week moving average and get some kind of rebound back up? But you got a good shot. You're going to get some kind of bounce here off of this trend line. I talked about those diversions at the top, ahead of the top, and after the top, and ever since then, talked about the reversal off of the trend line from the 2021 highs and the 2017 high. Again, if we've moved into a bear market, you've seen the RSI drop below 50, price drop below 50, confirm a bear market, you stay below it, you break the trend line, that's bearish, you bounce up this level, you buy a little bit more time, and we buy a little bit more time. And even if you get a bigger rally, you may. To get the experts and the moon boys and the herd all going, see. I mean, they're angry. They are fit to be tied. We got this drop that I predicted would happen, and it's making them angrier and angrier and angrier. And when we go higher, they're going to be going, see, we told you. You told us we had a breakout at the top, and you told us this sell-off was never going to happen. You guys were wrong. Is what I'm trying to tell you is if we confirm a bear market, you're going to see the RSI stay consistently in the negative region. The pull up here back to the 50-week, you got back above it briefly, and then it was the pull up was the sell signal, just like the pullbacks to below the 50 were the buy signals at the 50-week moving average in the bullish phase. So right here, what the bulls need is to get back into the positive region and clear resistance. I doubt they'll be able to do that. If we get a bounce and the RSI pulls up just above 50 or remains below 50, it will likely mark a counter trend rally. So again, we'll be watching. We've got to close below the 50-week. Will we confirm a bear market? I think you got a good chance you're probably going to try to bounce off the trend line here, as I've said. Down here, we have price oscillator forming the beautiful negative divergence with the peaks over here. From 2024 into 2025, it's now here coming to the center line and starting to go negative. So again, this is what we've saw in the bear market. In the bullish phase, you firmed up at the center line here. You saw it go negative, and it remained that way through the bear market. Which is this? We'll be watching closely. Do we bounce at the trend line here, buy a little bit more time, or do we break it? Do we break it and confirm a bear market? This bullish divergence going on the RSI in the 4-hour time frame for Bitcoin. So again, you're likely going to see some kind of bounce. The question is it just going to be a subwave and we're already in crash wave 3, or are you completing with this whole move down a primary wave 1 and you're about to get a larger rebound for primary wave 2? And again, if that happens, the institutions will sell into the rally, the herd won't, and it will lull the herd into a false sense of security, and they will become arrogant, they will become hopeful, and they'll get this attitude of, I told you Bitcoin was going to keep going. And again, if we get the larger counter trend right now, which is possible, again, that is one of my Elliott wave counts. The other Elliott wave count is that we're in crash wave 3 already, and we would get a rally that would be a subwave in the larger crash wave primary wave 3. But this divergence, again, I've been calling the turns, called the October top with the divergence here, calling these bounces and turns, and prior to the October top, the turns. The 4-hour chart has done a very good job in marking the turning points. The only divergence that has failed is this one right here, where we just got a feeble bounce. That divergence failed. This divergence here, though, still very, very much in play. We'll be watching. At risk of going lower before it plays out, but it could play out immediately. Again, my signals remain bearish. Bigger picture is down. Short-term price fluctuations are a little bit harder to call. And then how big, if you do get a bounce, how big will it be? Again, We don't know the future, so we have to look at support resistance levels, Fibonacci retracements, and mathematically based indicators to try to determine this. Unfortunately, a lot of people have unrealistic expectations. You know, the day of the top, again, this diversion's helped me, called this crash because I'm calling for a bear market and because I'm calling for a larger crash, 40 to 50% for Bitcoin, rather than commending me. I got people attacking me. I got one guy attacking me for my predictions, but yet not and refusing to acknowledge that I've been right about the top and right about this sell-off. Now, I've shown this monthly chart right here, and people just laugh and just mock me. How can I be so stupid to think that Bitcoin could drop 80 or 90%? But as you've seen in my video from 2 videos back, that's what the bear markets are for Bitcoin. I think it's reasonable. Somebody said to me yesterday, if Bitcoin drops down to these extremes, why would anybody buy it? That's not the question. The question is, if Bitcoin is at our current extremes that we've just moved off of and topped at with warning signs and warning signals of a top, why would anybody buy a top? That's the real question. Again, this is the trend line I use to call the top. This larger trend line going back to 2015 that we're just still right above that. We have the trend line. If we draw it from the 2022 low, connecting it here, it's just slightly different. Here I'm connecting from the 2022 low down to the 2015 low. The angle of ascent is slightly different for those 2 trend lines, but this one directly below, eventually I think you're going to take it out. If you do take it out, you're at risk of dropping 80 to 90%. Why do I say that? That's outrageous. The dumbest thing I ever heard. Well, Bitcoin dropped 78.5% over here, nearly 80% in the last bear market. During the flash crash, or during the pandemic, it dropped 71%. The bear market of 2017-18 dropped 86%. During the bear market of 2013 and 14 to early 2015, it dropped 84%. The bear market before that was a 93% drop. So again, people are just out of touch with reality. If bear markets for Bitcoin are around 80 to 90%, if it drops 80% from 126,000, you're looking at 25,000. The head and shoulders pattern measures down to 22,000. Bitcoin gets a bigger drop because it's never had a bear market where stock market moves into a bear market with it being below 200-week moving average on the S&P 500. It's never happened, staying below it. If we get a recession, which I believe is going to happen in December or January, we get another banking crisis, which I believe is about to start. It's going to price in this recession. It is not unreasonable to believe that Bitcoin is going to drop 80 to 90% if it has moved into a bear market, which I believe it has. We're taking out the 10-month moving average, which has acted as support right now. Again, you may try to rebound around it. You might dance around it for a little while. You did over here. You dropped below it, then you tried to test it. Over here, you kind of danced around it in this bear market. We'll see how it plays out here. At these perma bulls and these moon boys that think that my chart is the dumbest thing they've ever seen. I had one guy, I'm worth $600,000. This is the stupidest chart I've ever seen. I don't care if you're worth 600. What did I say? 600 million. I don't care if you're worth 600 million. I don't care if you're a billionaire. Charts don't lie. Your net worth is not going to stop a bear market. The person say, well, Trump won't allow this to happen. Well, did Trump stop the 2018 sell-off in his first term? Did he stop the 2020 sell-off? Both of those were major sell-offs. In Trump's first term, 2018, we dropped 86% of Bitcoin. During the pandemic, we dropped 71%. Trump stopped those? No. Not even President Trump can stop a legitimate bear market from happening. Tom Lee stopped the bear market from happening? Well, Tom Lee back over here, last time he predicted 200,000. Bitcoin had already topped. It was in a drop. It had started to drop 52%. It went on to drop 78.5%. Again, everybody, well, this person says this, or President Trump said that, or allow it. This is the stupidest thing I've ever heard. I mean, people check their brains at the door. Markets for Bitcoin have been 78 to, or 80 to 90%. It will probably be more than 80% because it's going to be associated with the financial crisis, recession, and a bear market in the stock market. I want to talk about Ethereum and altcoins for a minute. Now look at Bitcoin's monthly chart. Look at the price oscillator. Look at all the oscillators. They're all rolling over. The MACD is now getting the bearish cross. It's a Johnny come lately. All the people telling us that we're not going to move into a bear market, this monthly MACD, this is the final Johnny-come-lately signal, and these people are still in denial. When we got this over here, we had already topped, and again, finally, after we bottomed, it turned back to bullish. It's a very lagging indicator, no diversions on it. That's why I like the price oscillator so much better than the MACD. But the MACD is rolling over. See if we get the crossover by the end of the month or not. But this is the final nail in the coffin for Bitcoin, and we don't have that. We don't have that with Ethereum in the monthly time frame. Here's the MACD. It's not yet rolled over. Here's the price oscillator. Now, somebody asked me about Ethereum on Sunday, and I said that there's still hope for Ethereum if it diverges with Bitcoin, because sometimes at tops, Ethereum and Bitcoin diverge from one another. You have this channel right here. This is our monthly chart. We went up to the highs right here and we turned down. If Ethereum can rebound, Bitcoin gets a bigger rebound. I've talked about the Bitcoin primary wave 2. That scenario plays out. Bitcoin rebounds. Ethereum may try to go back up and make a new high and form a divergence right here in the most recent price action. It's got the larger divergence back from the peak over here in 2024. But there was no divergence right here like we had with Bitcoin in our recent price action in 2025. It still may get it. Back over here, you had it in the recent price action. Over here, you don't. There is still hope for Ethereum to try to diverge with Bitcoin, and if that happens, that could help altcoins and give you a mini altcoin kind of a rally. Should Bitcoin get a bigger rally right now and Ethereum attempt a recovery and eventually try to make new highs? No guarantee it plays out that way. I'm telling you, if, do you hear the word if in there? If, and again, I don't know the future, I'm just telling you, if Bitcoin can get a bigger rally, Ethereum might try to make new highs, form a divergence in the most recent price action on the RSI, because we don't have the rollover here in the monthly time frame on the price oscillator or the MACD. Looking at this month for Bitcoin, the MACD, the price oscillator rolled over long ago. Warning, and again, it's one of the signals I used to call the October top with, is I saw evidence of a top. Ethereum monthly chart and the weekly chart. Now look at the weekly chart of Ethereum. We don't have a divergence at the top. We went up to Tesla's high. You've got a possible double top in play, but you might try to come back, and we're at the 50-week moving average, by the way. You might try to come back if Bitcoin can get a bigger rally. Ethereum still might try to make new highs and end up forming a divergence right here in the more recent price action. And again, on the monthly chart, we had it at the last top. We had it in the weekly time frame at the last top. You don't have a divergence here. So I think that's the hope for Ethereum and altcoins. I believe Bitcoin is topped. And again, tops happened before. Well, Bitcoin tops first and Ethereum and altcoins top later, a couple months later or something. That is possible if Ethereum can form this divergence. Now, we do have this channel, and again, in the weekly and the monthly time frame. So again, I'll be watching this closely. If Bitcoin, if Bitcoin gets the bigger rally, then this scenario with Ethereum is very possible. We don't have a divergence. We don't have a divergence on the price oscillator or the MACD. You had one at the 2021 top on both of them. You don't have one here on Ethereum in the weekly time frame. So it is still possible that Ethereum has not yet topped, but yet Bitcoin already has. And if that is the case, if Ethereum can move to a new high, then you might see a recovery with altcoins. But that means Bitcoin's got to get a bigger rally right now. The risk is Bitcoin's in crash wave 3 right now, and it keeps going lower. That's the risk. And it drags down Ethereum and altcoins with it. That's the risk. But divergence is possible, still possible, on the RSI here in the weekly time frame and in the monthly time frame for Ethereum. So there still is hope of new highs for Ethereum, but not, in my opinion, not for Bitcoin. Really depends on if we get that divergence or not. Now back here in November of 2021, Ethereum peaked with Bitcoin, peaked at the same time. But Bitcoin and Ethereum often will diverge at turning points. And again, you can see that. Look at the first 2021 peak. Bitcoin first peaked, and then Ethereum still made new highs in the first 2021 peak. At the second 2021 peak, they peaked together. But they diverged. In the first 2021 peak, Bitcoin made a new high, and then later Ethereum peaked, and then they both sold off. It was Ethereum in the upper window, Bitcoin in the lower window. Down at the bottom, Bitcoin bottomed after Ethereum. Ethereum bottomed first, got a higher low. Bitcoin got a lower low in late 2022, and they diverged. They diverged often at turning points. 2025 low, when we had the April low, Ethereum moved to a new low beyond this low over here. Bitcoin made a higher low. They diverged at that turning point. So they often diverge at turning points. If we go back to the 2017 top, Bitcoin peaked December of 2017, sold off, made a lower high. Ethereum, the blue line is Ethereum, it peaked after Bitcoin and had a big rally after Bitcoin had already peaked. So sometimes they diverge. Bitcoin has diverged with altcoins. Just telling you, if we end up seeing a rally with Ethereum moving to getting a divergence on the monthly and the weekly chart, you might see a mini altcoin rally if Bitcoin can't get a recovery. Top for Bitcoin with 2017 again with altcoins. This is altcoins now, not Ethereum, and the blue line is altcoins. Bitcoin peaked in December. Altcoins soared after Bitcoin peaked in December and peaked in January when Ethereum peaked. So again, sometimes they diverge. Bitcoin got a lower high here with the bars, and altcoins got a higher high, and so did Ethereum. And so I'm telling you, sometimes these divergences form, not always, but often they do form. You see some kind of mini altcoin season if Bitcoin can get a recovery. Notice Bitcoin had sold off sharply, and it was getting a recovery after the sharp sell-off when Ethereum and the altcoins attempted to move to new highs. And that's all I'm saying, that if Bitcoin can get a bigger recovery, you might see an attempted rally on Ethereum to new highs, and you might see an altcoin rally, whether that's a mini altcoin rally, something bigger, that's still possible if altcoins and Ethereum end up diverging with Bitcoin, which has happened at many times in history. So we'll be watching this closely. Asking me about altcoins, people asking me about Ethereum, and that's why I wanted to take the time to show you this. This is the total 3 market cap, by the way. This is the total 3 market cap representing the altcoins. It's the total 3 is the market cap for crypto, excluding Bitcoin and Ethereum. So it represents the altcoins, total 3. If you look at the total 3 right here, we don't have a death cross either. So again, if we can get some kind of recovery with Bitcoin, you've got a shot at possibly forming a divergence with Bitcoin. Now the bad news, it could work the other way too. They diverge. Bitcoin in January moved to a new high. Altcoins did not. So again, they diverge. Now here, Bitcoin made a new high. I don't think Bitcoin's going to make a new high. If we get a divergence, I think it would be more likely that altcoins and Ethereum would make a new high if the divergence does in fact end up forming. But to point that out, that Bitcoin had made a new high, and here we didn't. Now all my signals in the weekly time frame are bearish, turned up major resistance with Bitcoin, so I think it's more likely Bitcoin has topped. Now the trend line is still intact on altcoins as well for the market cap, total 3 here. And if we exclude the shadow here ever so slightly there, we're right at it if we connect to this point. And we'll be watching. Do we get a bounce with altcoins? Do we get a bounce with Ethereum? And I've talked about this larger rebound scenario for Bitcoin. If we have a 5-leg push lower here that we're getting primary wave 1, if we are not in crash wave 3, and it could be again a 1-2 scenario, primary wave 1, primary wave 2. We could already be in crash wave 3, and any rebound back up could just be a subwave, and there's a couple different ways to count it as I've talked about, but this is a leading diagonal. Primary wave 1, we end up getting the bigger rebound for Bitcoin. You've got a shot at Ethereum and altcoins trying to move to new highs, merge with Bitcoin as they've done in the past. And then we'll be watching, if we do get the bigger rebound scenario, we'll be watching 116,000. We'll be looking at our Fibonacci retracements right here with our low right here right now. You're looking at 113,000 for the 61.8 Fibonacci should we end up trying to get a bigger rebound. No guarantee we do, but it is one of my L8 wave counts that I am considering.